Afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Hassan. I'm a local campaigner and a local activist. And we started a campaign called Hands of Somalia. I don't know if many of you have followed the situation in Somalia, but Somalia is a country that has been suffering from civil war for over 20 years now, has suffered, still recovering from the worst famine in 60 years. And thousands of people have died through those wars and other invasions. Britain has now, there was a conference on the 23rd of February where David Cameron, prior to that, has announced Somalia being the worst failed state in the world, and that it directly threatened Britain's interest, and that they need to deal with, quote unquote, the Somali problem. He summoned 40 countries into the UK on the 23rd and held a conference with these countries and other organisations to talk about strategies in dealing with the Somali problem. Why now, many of you might ask? It's been happening for 20 years, they've been suffering for 20 years. Well, the World Bank and the UN has recently announced Somalia having, they've been the second country in the world for having untapped resources. Somalia has oil, it has gas, it has many other resources that have never been sort of extracted. So Britain seems like they want their share of that, and the West in general. If prior to that, Britain has been involved in these wars that have been happening in Somalia. Many people might look at Somalia and think, oh, they couldn't sort out the internal politics for 20 years. But really and truly, they've been infiltrating for those 20 years. And they've been paying militia groups and warlords to prop up all sorts of disasters and chaos in the country. They have had two invasions that they directly have supported: Ethiopia in 2006 and then in 2008, the African Union, which are now Ghana and Botswana, Israel supported by, Kenya supported by Israel. So all those countries are already in Somalia, and all those countries are already causing massive havoc for the people. In 2006, when the Islamic unions took over and cleared out the war groups and the militia groups, came US, led by Ethiopia, and completely dismantled that group. So it's not about peace, it's not about fighting security, it's not about Al-Shabaab or piracy, and even if we're talking about Al-Shabaab and piracy, we need to question how do these groups come about. Al-Shabaab is the young man of the country, they're not some foreign invaders, they're the people who are posing against foreign invasions, the Ethiopian invasion, the African Union invasion, the US and the UK invasion. So the media is demonizing these groups, they're demonizing people on the ground and making them look like the war criminals, the people that we need to go and clear up. They're the people of the country. You can't eradicate the young man of the country. With the case of piracy, many people might not know, but the piracy situation occurred around the same time the Islamic unions came about, when Western companies were dumping toxic waste, a toxic waste that would cost millions in the West to get rid of properly, by proper organizations, by proper companies that are paid millions for it. But they rather dump in a coastline that has no control, that has no government to protect. That then piracy, the people on the ground complained to the UN, made an official application to say, look, these toxic wastes that are appearing on our shores, what do we do? The UN ignored, the EU ignored, piracy came about, where they took with their little boats on the sea, their territories, not just the toxic waste being dumped, but the fish has been stolen, the mineral resources have been stolen. So they came with guideposts, the people who are protecting their own shores. But in the media, they are portrayed, as these terrorists, as these, okay, fair enough, they might have got a bit carried away and greedy as you do. But the idea came. We've organised a campaign called Hands of Somalia campaign, which is opposing any type of intervention in Somalia. It's an imperialist interest. It's no different to Iraq, Afghanistan, what will be into Iran. It's a way that socialize the UK the US is there, and the other Western countries there. We want people to come and support this campaign. We want you to come and support. We want the Stop the War Coalition to really back this campaign, because often you may know that issues in Africa are not talked about. Countries that are suffering in Africa are not talked about, and we are afraid that, you know, with the case of Iran, that the situation that is occurring, that now they are literally preparing for military intervention. Many of us think that with the campaign of Iran, Somalia gets behind, you know, and it so easily can happen because African issues are not that glamorized. You know, this situation is happening in the wrong continent. If it was happening in the Middle East, we would be hearing about Somalia, we would be learning more about Somalia. But because it's in Africa, and Africa is equated with struggle, suffering, poverty, starvation, it's almost like, oh, well, you know, it's been happening for 20 years. That's Africa, it's natural, that's, you know, that continent meant to be suffering like that. But that's not the situation. We know what's behind it. We know where there is an intervention, Western intervention. We know there's an imperialist interest. We know they're there for their own reasons. Aid for oil, that's what it is. They want to increase the aid that they're offering to Somalia. So Hands of Somalia is there's a Facebook page that you can join, which will have all the details. And also we have a conference on the 31st, where we will have a number of speakers, we'll educate people about this and raise awareness. So we hope to have your support in this campaign and really have an anti-war campaign on Somalia. Thank you very much.